Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition, folks. It's PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank Batesy for our introduction today. And we got a good show. We got JC that everybody looks forward to boost our ratings. And then we have Graham Hall, who does a phenomenal job covering the Mighty Gators. He'll be joining us as well. Not a whole lot going on in the sports world on a Tuesday night. JC, you're on the Titan More Hotline. I see you got a new hat.
Oh, let's go Cougs. Jake Dickert, head coach, the Pac-2. They're going to win it this year. They're going to win the Pac-2. Listen, QB, I'm just watching. I'm looking at where you're at.
They've already won it.
That's right. You got some old Forrester and some old Granddad back there, some Evan Williams. I hope I'm not confusing my Tennessee and Kentucky bourbons, but that looks good. I like that background you got there. That is Kentucky. And yeah, they are raising hell about a 12 o'clock game with the Florida Gators. My God, think about this. If you're running a business in Lexington, Kentucky, a small business, albeit somewhere near the stadium, even though it's not anything is really near that stadium, but let's say you're right down that University Boulevard area, and they tell you you got a 12 o'clock game, man, you can't run up your tabs before noon. Now, these guys from Kentucky, they don't have any problem tossing them back, QB, as you know. But that's just too bad for them. Too bad for them, even though I know you're excited about it.
I'm very excited.
Edgar Thompson's excited. All the great media members that follow the Florida Gators are very excited about the noon kickoff. And I think Florida's played, am I right or wrong about this? Haven't they played 3 straight night games at 7 o'clock? 4, actually.
7 to 7:30.
All the games have been at that hour, and I get it. And so, sometimes you got to have a little balance. Next week, LSU and Missouri are playing at noon, I think. So the LSU fans, now that's not in LSU, God forbid, we have a game at noon in Baton Rouge Eastern time, or I should say 11 a.m. But they'll always play that Texas-Oklahoma game in Dallas at 11 a.m., and people are just sick and damn tired of it. So many folks in Texas are wondering, when they join the SEC, do we still have to play OU at 11 o'clock in the damn morning? So we'll see. I know it's television. I know you guys love it, but you're not the ones out there tailgating and getting rousted up and spending money. They are. So I see it. And the businesses and the entrepreneurs and all the proprietors, they're thinking, oh, God. 11 a.m., 12 o'clock. Who does this kind of stuff? It's just too bad. But that's how I'll tell you another thing, QB, and I'm just rambling here, but if you want to jump in. Well, I mean, I've got some thoughts in my
I was waiting for you to take a breath so I could chime in.
All right, I'm taking a breath. I'm going to take a
breath.
Good.
All right, we got some text on the Titan More text line.
Okay, I got more for you.
This is from Tommy up in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
Great little town.
Sure.
Good morning, Shane and JC. We had to adjust last minute to watch the game, and we were not able to synchronize. I guess you're talking about with the radio. Is there any way you can get permissions and replay the call on the catch? No, I don't know how that works. I do know there's an app called the Varsity or something like that you can listen to any college pro broadcast of their radio. So maybe you can go back and listen to that. Josh in Mississippi on Titan Mar text line. QB, from what you've seen from Kentucky, where are they most vulnerable? What do we need to do in order to dominate the game? I think we can throw all over them, quite honestly.
You'll be able to throw it. You can stop the run.
Yeah, the whole key to this game, Florida. Somebody mentioned here the point spread's gone to Kentucky favored by 1 now. Yeah. I think we'll be favored come Friday. I just think Kentucky is a team that's just solid. They don't make a lot of mistakes. We got to protect the football. That's the old cliche. Don't turn it over, we win. Yeah. All right. This says, hate to say it, but Kentucky's going to stuff the Gators this time. Man, I don't know what makes you think that. Did you know?
Look,
I didn't realize this, but we were talking about it
10-6.
yesterday on another show. The Gators were up 11 last year on Kentucky, and we lost the damn game.
I know. It's there's a couple of these Kentucky games. You remember the blocked field goal up in Lexington last time you were up there? That turned everything around. Florida was in control. Wasn't that right? Am I right about that?
I think
Wasn't
so.
Florida in total control? They had to block field goal. Yeah. But that's football, right? That's part of the game. You got to execute on special teams. And thank goodness somebody went down to frat row and found a kicker for the Florida Gators.
No, he was highly touted. Highly touted.
He's very good.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Why he never got. All right, so here we go. I got to get to some Facebook lives here.
Mac.
These are brought to you by Melton Law. All right, here we go. Tony says the Ryder Cup comes on at 2 a.m. Friday morning. Set your alarm. The Jags then play at 9:30 on Sunday morning. They got back-to-back games in London. Good luck to the Jags.
It might be a good thing for them, but they're in trouble.
That is a problem. I forgot the Ryder Cup's going to be on very early.
So I heard somebody tell me on Sirius Radio that he was going to wake up at 6 a.m. and watch Ryder Cup, and maybe that's delayed, right? Maybe that's somehow delayed. I know that where they're playing is 6 hours in front of the Eastern time zone, so that means that would be 8 a.m. I did okay. So it just depends on when it's starting, but I'm into that. I'm going to watch that. Because, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's time to wake up and watch golf before football starts, QB. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to start it where the Europeans get to pick the format, the first format. And I think, isn't something called 4-ball? Isn't that alternate shot?
No, that's just golfing your ball.
No, that's called foursomes.
That's 4-ball.
Okay, well, I think they're going to start with
alternate shot is called alternate shot, JC.
Well, I think they're going to start with alternate shot, and then I think they're going to go to 4-ball. But
what's always interesting to me, and we're probably putting people to sleep here, alternate shot, because people don't realize this, but your ball is where you're supposed to have whatever kind of ball you play with is directed towards your swing speed, its spin rate, and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
So like Brooks Koepka, he plays a Srixon ball as I do. But then whoever his partner is may be playing Titleist, and so you kind of get screwed up in that.
Yeah. Well, QB, look, I'm going to wake folks up since you're saying we're putting them to sleep. Even though I know there's a lot of fellas that watch the Ryder Cup, but this time, what's the date, QB? September the 27th, something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. We've got these polls out, and I know nobody cares about the polls, but it just bothers the hell out of me having a poll out this time of year when you've got Georgia basing everything off of last year without the same team as the number one team in the country they've played. Absolutely.
Well, nobody. I agree, but until somebody beats them.
Well, dude, are we ranking teams or not? Well, why? They haven't done anything this year. They've done nothing.
I hear you.
And now we got Texas, who's got the best win in football, the best win, clearly the best win in football. We've got Florida State that's won against LSU in your beloved Clemson Tigers,
Tigers. They're beloved.
And then we've got, you love them. And so we've got teams with real wins. We've got Ohio beating Notre Dame on the road with 10-inch grass. My God, Ohio should be ranked up there. Michigan, why the hell is Michigan ranked up there, dude? Their schedule has been more embarrassing than Georgia's. At least Georgia played a conference game, struggled in that game in the first quarter, or first half rather, against Carolina, but then showed us that they were Georgia and South Carolina was South Carolina in the second half. Just like what Alabama did to Mississippi. My God, Mississippi, 526.7 yards of total offense per game, and they had nothing. They had 5 sacks. They had Alabama had 5 sacks and 10 total tackles. 10 total tackles for loss against Mississippi. So, let's remember that Alabama might not be the 18th best team in the country either. So the polls are just jacked up. They're jacked up. They're jacked up like this team and Oregon State not being invited somewhere while Arizona State and someone else gets invited to go play the Big 12. I predict that the Big 12 will take these guys and Oregon State before it's all said and done and turn into the Big 18 to rival the Big 10, which is actually the Big 18 right now. I mean, and then this California-Stanford thing to the ACC is just absolutely asinine from the very get-go. It's the most ridiculous thing. I've seen in college sports. That really is probably the most ridiculous thing I've seen in college sports up to this point.
All right, let's get to some YouTubes brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Chris says, "Go Gators. Does Kentucky get the best of the Gators this year, or does Austin Armstrong shut them down?" I think it's going to come down to our front seven again. They play well. Our two defensive tackles are outstanding. They control the line of scrimmage. We win the game. Andy says, "Shane, great show. I know you've always said that you don't watch Gator Nation football podcast, but it's amazing how many routes the wide receivers run that all end up together. No space. Have you noticed this?" Haven't noticed it. Now, is that every play? Because if it's just one play that this guy's picking out and amongst of 60 plays, look, I have zero problem with our passing game other than we don't push it down the field. You can watch the Kansas City Chiefs. Go pull up there. They're going to have some guys in the same area as well. It just happens sometimes. Again, I have nothing against these people that break down plays on podcasts. That's their prerogative. They can do whatever they want. And maybe they know more football than I do. And if they do, great. But remember, we don't know what anybody's assignment is on that play. We're assuming that they know. We don't know. The tight end could have busted his route, and that's why there's two guys in an area. We don't know, because there are mistakes made on plays. Doesn't mean everybody runs the correct route when a pass play is called.
Yeah. Well,
so just keep that in mind. I understand everybody's frustration, but I'm sure there's somebody at Alabama that breaks down every play that they should do this or it should be that. But we don't know what Nick Saban or Tommy Rees is telling those players. So anyway, Andy also asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, Shane, were those pass plays that the HBC drew up on the inside of the huddle yesterday the type of options you have been wanting to see? Yeah, there's some of them. Yeah. I mean, I think like Coach Spurrier, because that's who I learned football from. We have the same philosophy. Like I said, my pass plays, Coach Spurrier's pass plays, Bill Belichick's, Lane Kiffin's, Lincoln Riley, everybody has the same pass plays. It's when you call it and how you teach it. That's the key.
Well,
Clint says, Shane, it's Wednesday night. Tune in 8:30. I have zero. Y'all just tell me what they say. If they just keep coming back saying everybody's running the same area, okay, maybe they are. I don't see it with my eyes during a game. There's about 4 or 5 plays that we could run that are consistent, high percentage plays that have shots built in that would attack what teams have done to us.
What is
but
Wednesday
that's not, look, that's not what Billy does. So we all need to not worry about it.
What is Wednesday night at 8:30? What do
you can tune into the Gator Football podcast.
Oh, okay. Well,
and learn some X's and O's, JC.
Okay, I'll forget it Thursday. The offenses take what defenses give them. A lot of times that's just not the long pass, but like we've always said,
they're just these guys. The point of these podcasts, they break down every play.
Oh, jeez.
Like if JC's playing left guard,
well, we got some
John Cornell stepped through wrong. we don't know what you're being taught. Okay, what I like to tell other people, the team that you're trying to block or trying to score against, they have coaches and they have scholarship athletes as well. So not every play works. All right, Wes says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Shane, great show as always. Appreciate it. We have upgraded in every area this year except O-line. I think that will come around, way more talent. It's just hard to tell. I firmly believe this. I think we are better at every position on defense. All 11 starters are better. Offense, I think we're better across the board. Offensive line, losing Osiris Torrance. But I think we're better at every other position.
I love the way they played against Tennessee. I kept saying it. I thought they played great in the run game, specifically in the run game. And, so he didn't have all the protection that he needed in some of those plays against Tennessee. But, man, they ran the ball just beautifully against that front. And Tennessee didn't see that coming, and it came. And I think that's kind of what you're going to see against Kentucky, QB. I don't know why he's going to deviate from what worked, unless Kentucky does something different than Tennessee did. But what you did say was when they played Utah, which we all know is a very good defense, is that they put 8 guys up front.
Well, it wouldn't. That's kind of that's not correct. They had more than we could block. That could be 6 at sometimes, or it could be 7.
Okay, so, fine. But that's what Utah did, and it worked.
Yeah.
And don't think that Stoops isn't seeing that. Didn't see that tape. So let's just pump the brakes.
Well, look, like I told you, football ain't hard. You can only do so many things.
Right.
I mean, we're not trying to solve cancer here, folks. Clint on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing.
Like it's an equation. Cancer. Okay, go ahead.
I wish we could solve it.
Hear it, but go ahead.
Every team in the SEC has looked beatable at some point this year. The conference title is up for grabs more than I've ever seen in a long time. I agree.
Absolutely true.
I agree 100%.
Even Georgia's looked beatable. Yep.
Yeah. Mitch says here, JC is PodUp's Charles Barkley. Love his rants, takes, and keeping it real.
Well, look, thank you so much. Very, very, very nice there. I can only just tell you what I think. That's why they got me here. Freddie loves me. I love Freddie. We've known each other for 20 years, 30 maybe, even 40. I bought Domino's pizza my whole life. My God, I probably funded his retirement. But at any rate, not to digress, the thing that just keeps me going is the same things that I find to be so incredibly nonsensical sometimes in college football. Now, I love good football. I always want to talk about that. But let's face it, it's boring talking about Michigan, Ohio State, and Georgia beating a bunch of teams that are just getting checks. That's not what I'm interested in. I don't think anybody is. I don't even think
Tony says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mello, I don't need some nerd with a rewind button to teach me football. I said, if they want to do that, that's great.
Here's the thing. What do you find the most enjoyable about football games? Do you like the plays? Do you like the splash plays? Do you like the X's and O's? Do you like the personalities? Do you like just the game, the competition, the aspect of the sport itself? What do you like about it? Do you like the contact, the physical nature of it? There are so many different things about football that you can enjoy. Whether you played it or you didn't play it, you can still enjoy it. There are more women watching football today in today's demographics than any time in history. Anytime. You've got more women doing broadcasting now. Okay, so there's just so much there. The NFL is 1, and college football is 2 on the television ratings. So anybody says, well, college football is doomed, they're not. It's not doomed, man. And by the way, I don't think the NIL is as big a deal as the transfer portal. I think the NIL is just something that was coming at some point. But the transfer portal is what's doing most of the changing of the landscape in college football to me. That's where you're seeing the most activity in terms of change.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got JC right now. We'll have Graham Hall, second portion.
I like Graham.
Van Der says, JC, so we are projected for the Gasparilla Bowl. Really?
Oh,
you suggest that we start to make a rank? I can promise you they will not be going to the Gasparilla Bowl.
Way premature. And you're talking about that 6-6 team 2 years ago that went to that game. This is not the same team, folks.
No, I'm telling you, they're better across the board. On the talent is clearly better. They just got to go out and win.
I get excited about these guys on the edge that are coming in and playing, and I get excited about Wilson. I wish Wilson would get healthy again soon. I don't think we're going to see him until the Georgia game. But if Florida somehow were to be 6-1 going into the Georgia game, and there's no reason to think they won't be or can't be, I guess. And they bring him into that game will be for the SEC East and a trip to Atlanta. And let me tell you something, it's not the same Georgia Bulldogs. They're very good, very talented athletes everywhere. It is not. Carson Beck is not Stetson Bennett, at least not yet. He's trying to be, but he's not yet. And they run the ball. They've got running backs 5 deep, but that's fine. If you stop the run, you can beat the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll see what happens. But they're really susceptible to the pass. The pass, you can beat Georgia throwing the ball down the field. You can. Ohio State, for all intents and purposes.
I'm responding to Van Der again. He says that was in the USA Today against Tulane. Tulane's going to be playing in a major bowl.
First mistake Van made was buying that mullet wrapper USA Today. That's the first mistake he made. He should have thrown that out or used it for
whoever wrote it must have been drunk because we're not going to go Gasparilla, and Tulane surely's not.
Oh my God, no! Listen, that's the first mistake, my man Van, and I like Van, but that's the first mistake he made. He should be putting that in his parakeet cage or in his cat litter box or something like that, because that thing sucks. Okay, the USA Today, give me a break. It's not the USA Today; it's something else today. But that's the first mistake he made. Second is the sports section in that paper is a joke. You go want to read Christine Brennan and bore yourself to tears and solve your insomnia, you go ahead and read that. But what's the other guy's name? Wolken? He's awful. So that's the USA Today. That's my take on that. But
we appreciate it. David
what
on
I-
YouTube.
what
David, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, "My wife plays fantasy football now. Is there no safe space?" No doubt. All right, text on the Titan number text line from George in Little Rock, Arkansas.
It's all about injuries.
He says, "Shane, did you happen to see what Dion said about Cormani McLean?" I did see that. JC, you may not know Cormani McLean, highly recruited kid, I think out at Lakeland. He was supposed to come here, ended up going to Colorado, has not played one down, I don't think, for them.
Wow.
And so some reporter asked Dion, what does he have to do to get on the field? Dion interrupted him while he was asking the question and says, show up for practice, show up on time for meetings, know your assignments. It was the best answer I've ever heard.
Dion is I think really behind all the sunglasses and everything else. I think he's really good coach. He knows football inside and out. He's a Hall of Fame. I mean, we all know about Dion. He's great, and he's right. And I think he's doing a great job there. And they're going to have a hard time Saturday. I think it's going to get ugly again. It's just a bad matchup, right? But they can win 5 games, and that would be unbelievably good for them. They will beat Stanford. If they play Cal, they might beat them. And if they play Arizona State, they might beat them, because I don't think that team is worth 2 beans in a pot. So that's going to be a great finish. I think they can get bowl eligible. I really do.
Alan has a question here, and I've been asked this multiple times, especially by some of my buddies. He says, JC and Shane, what do y'all think of the black apparel of Gator gear that Napier always in black, and why? Do y'all think it? Do y'all like it? Is it our funeral? No. That's just who he is. That's what they did at Louisiana.
Yeah. That's why.
Look, they're going to wear all black uniforms. Everybody's wanting black uniform. I don't care about it. It does not bother me what the coaches wear. He could be out there in purple for all I care.
Royal blue, white pants, orange hat. That's Florida. And then on the road, white shirts, white pants, orange hat, helmet.
I wish.
That's Florida. That's Florida.
I think
now,
we're wearing all white.
Sometimes they wear the orange pants, but
we're wearing all white this week. I do know.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. That's a beautiful look. Kentucky had it last week against Vanderbilt with silver hats, but they were all white. I think it's a great look. How about another team that wears all white? Miami Dolphins. How about this QB? Currently first in the NFL in points per game, yards per play, yards per game, rushing yards per game, rushing yards per play, passing yards per game, and passing yards per play. 1 in the NFL. How about that? Eagles 3-0 for second straight season. We really blew it on the pick the other night. That was ridiculous. It was like watching a high school team play a JV team, Eagles and the Bucks. 3-0 for the second straight season. Jalen Hurts, your Alabama quarterback, is 20-1 in the last 21 regular season games. 20-1. Eagles, Niners, and the Dolphins are the only 3-0 teams. Who's the 4th best team in the NFL, QB?
But behind who?
The Eagles, the Dolphins, and the 49ers. Who's the next best team in the NFL?
The Chiefs.
Okay, that's fair.
Chiefs or Bills?
Definitely Buffalo to me. And maybe Kansas City.
Yeah. Text on the Titan Mar text line from Brett and Jax. He says, good morning, Shane. My key to Kentucky. Can Napier motivate players like Urban did after 2 very different games the past 2 weeks? We'll finally start to see an identity to this team. Look, I agree. Urban was a tremendous motivator. He had that psychology major or whatever. But let's be honest. Urban had a bunch of damn NFL players.
He did.
I mean, JC could have motivated them.
Oh, they were good. Well, but it takes a couple guys to buy in for everyone else.
Yeah, but I think this team, I will be shocked if they don't play well. I'm going to be shocked if we don't win the game. Just like I was so disappointed after the damn Utah game.
Well, yeah, but that Utah game is ancient history. You've got the SEC all in front of you right now. I mean, this is such a big game. And, we like to overstate things, right? That's kind of what we tend to do. And we said that the Tennessee game was the biggest game in Billy Napier's. It was.
This is the biggest.
But now we move on to the next biggest game in Billy Napier's career, because you don't want to be 7-5. You don't want to be 6-6. You don't want to go to Gasparilla and all this crap. And I don't know if he wants to wear black, he wears black. I mean, Coach Spurrier wore white shirts, orange shirts, blue shirts.
He had the Steve Spurrier sportswear line. Pick and save. Uh,
That's right.
let's see here. Jim says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. He says Dan Lanning is getting roasted for his pregame speech. Is it deserved or not?
Locker room
I thought
stuff.
it was great. I thought it was outstanding. He did nothing wrong.
And you know what? I love that he let the cameras in. What do you think they're doing at Colorado? They're promoting. It's called sales.
Well, here's the thing.
Marketing. The same thing can happen in Oregon.
Okay. The world we live in, there are cameras in every locker room at every level of football. Okay. It's not like letting them in because you have your video people there. So after you win a football game, they do this little trailer that they put on Twitter and all these other places. So every camera, every team has it. Dan Lanning did nothing wrong. It's true. I mean, look, Colorado's been a great story, but they've really done. I mean, they won 3 games, but they have beaten nobody.
But what did Dan Lanning say that wasn't true? What did he say that wasn't true, folks?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, I mean, if it's true and it hurts your feelings, get some better feelings. Go recruit some new feelings. All right? Go recruit some feelings and get better ones. Get better feelings, because if he's hurting them, then it's a you problem. And I don't think Colorado. In fact, I think Dion probably liked it. I don't think.
Well, I think because Colorado, if you saw some stuff on Twitter, their players were talking so much trash in pregame warm up.
It was
so they deserve what came to them. Okay. Don says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Brooks Robinson was a close friend of my dad's and a great man. Rest in peace, Brooks. Yeah. Probably some people say he's the greatest third baseman of all time.
Well, definitely on the defensive side. I think lifetime he was a 266 hitter, but he hit well. He played in 3 World Series. In 2 of those 3 World Series, I think he was the MVP in 70, and he also was very good in 1966. He could not hit against the Mets. He went 1 for 19 against the Mets in 1969, but he was very good in the other 2 World Series that the Orioles played in that he was involved in. And I think there was maybe one more in 71 when they lost to the Pirates. But they beat the Reds in 70, and he was, I think, the MVP. But first of all, the best defensive third baseman in the history of the game, probably. As far as hitting goes, very good, but not great. He was not Rod Carew, but he was exceptional on the defensive side of the ball. And listen, 86, I think it was, or something to that effect. Great life for Brooks, man. I was a Yankee fan, and he's over there playing for the Orioles in the 70s, and I couldn't stand him because the Orioles were good, but I did like Earl Weaver.
Jason, anyway. Can we dress you up like a football coach one day for the program?
I don't like what who like what.
Well, Tony, they were talking about you coaching, and he says JC would probably wear the old school bike shorts. Remember the bike coaching shorts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In the tube socks. Well,
socks, get you a whistle.
A whistle, yeah, and a hat that sticks up like this. Right. Yeah.
Like a mesh, like a trucker, like an old school trucker.
Listen, I remember those great days. And when I was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi in 1988, covering the Golden Eagles, we had coaches like that all over the Forest County area and so forth. But but I mean, the coaches literally would get off of work, say 5 o'clock, early, and then go out there and coach their kids. God bless them. But those coaches had a little bit more weight to them. I've gained weight here in my midlife, but I was skinny back in the day, dude. I was almost like you, almost anorexic like you. In fact, I looked worse than you did. You looked at least tall and trim. I looked like a runt because I had no weight on me. But I overcame it with talent on the baseball.
Chris on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Very interesting comment here. He says, Florida has a very young roster. Why are expectations so high? UK and USC have senior rosters. If Florida plays well but comes up short in these 2 games, will you still be upset? Damn right. I think we're better teams. I don't care how young we are. I think we're very young, but we're a mature young team. And I think our rosters, our team is better than those 2 teams.
But that
doesn't mean you're going to win the game.
Yeah,
we're better than they are.
This team can get older fast by winning these games on the road in the SEC. 2 tough environments. I don't care what you say. Columbia can get rocking, man. And Lexington, I don't know. I don't know about that at noon, but they'll be hyped up for the Gators because it's the Gators. And South Carolina will not be a cakewalk, but they should win the game. I mean, right, QB? I mean, you saw last
week. Speaking of that, do we have any tomorrow? Is there some games, NFL and college games? Are we doing any Peachland dental picks, JC? Or are you not prepared? You're so worried about wearing your damn new hat that you didn't do what you're supposed to do.
All right. Well, Thursday, Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, not interested. Temple and Tulsa, absolutely not interested. So there's nothing on Thursday night, tomorrow night. And then the NFL, we've got a game, the Lions and the Packers. That's in Green Bay. It's on Amazon, which means I probably won't watch it unless I go out somewhere. But the Lions beat the Packers here last year, QB. So we'll pick this one. And by the way, we lost both our picks on Monday night. Just awful picking because we forgot how good the Eagles really are, and they are.
But I thought I had the Rams.
They didn't cover. They were getting 2.5, and they lost.
I thought it was 3.5. Oh,
no, okay. It's 2.5. But the Lions and the Packers, 1.5 is Detroit favored by Green Bay at home. Man, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, somehow they scored 18 points in the last 10 minutes of that game to beat the Saints.
I won't take the Lions again. I'm going with them.
Yeah, I'm a big Lions guy. Mark Brunell's my buddy, so
yeah.
I'll go with the Lions. I like Jared Goff. All right, here we go. Chase, real quick.
Where'd he go to college, QB? Real quick.
Who?
Jared Goff. Come on.
Cal.
Very good.
I thought you were asking me about Brunell.
Oh, well, where'd he go to college, QB? Quick.
He's a Husky.
Very good.
We came out the same year. All right, Chase on YouTube. YouTube brought to you by Quality Plum. Over/under on rushing yards needed to beat Kentucky. I think it'll come down to the line of scrimmage on both sides. Got to get pressure on Leary and have to establish run early. I agree with all that. I don't care. I mean, I know the Gator fans love running the football. Get it? You got two great running backs, but man, I'm just telling you, we could be a legit throwing the football team.
Am I wrong by saying a wheel route once in a while would be a good idea?
Wheel routes are good, JC. I agree. Pick the guy that has the back and run the back out of the backfield.
Especially with those guys catching the ball and the speed that ETN has. Let's try that. Can we get one of those places ordered up? Can I order that wheel route to ETN?
Call. Hey, here's I got a great plan for you. Go to the Keys restaurant tomorrow night.
Oh.
To Billy Napier, what's that show called?
College, right?
Gator. I don't know what it's called, but Sean Kelly will be there hosting. You can get up there on the mic.
Yeah.
I'm John from Hell Plantation. Coach Napier, run a wheel route. So I think you should do that.
Oh my God. I'll make sure it's being videoed.
So I got something better, JC. I'll give you the plays that I won't run.
Oh.
And you go up there and you say, Coach, I got some good ball plays and see if it works.
How smart would I look? I'd look like they go, who is that guy? He's so well versed in the offensive scheme. That's a great idea. Great idea. I listen, man. I think Billy. I don't know if this is out of the realm of truth, but I'm not so sure against Charlotto that he actually showed everything that he's going to try to do against Kentucky. I got a feeling that sometimes these coaches put some stuff in the bag when they know they've got the game in the bag and they're getting ready for the next game. They can't talk about it, but they're thinking about it. So just be cool, folks. Be cool. The Mertz has got to do what he's being asked to do, and he's done it well so far. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah. All right, JC, have a good day. We'll talk to you on Friday.
Gotcha. See you then, guys.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll be joined by Graham Hall from a little Gator football. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar, If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. We're going to go now to the Titan More Hotline, and we're joined by Graham Hall. 24/7 Sports does a great job covering the Gators. Good morning, Graham. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Shane. You said it, man. I maybe need another haircut. No one can tell, but I did get a little trim. Not quite rocking the Billy Napier once again, but soon, I'll tell you that.
That would be shocking if you showed up with the Billy Napier buzz cut.
It's crazy. I had that until he got here, and now he gets here, and I'm like, I gotta rock the curly locks now.
That's funny. All right, real quick, Graham. We'll get your thoughts on Kentucky coming up real quick, but we have multiple texts here on the Titan More text line, and I'm just it's from 3 or 4 different guys. They want to get an update on Kamari Wilson.
Yeah, Shane, you can obviously speak to this better than me, man, because I'm no athlete anymore, unless you count shooting in the 90s on the golf course. I'm sure it's got to be frustrating being a former 5-star guy who is in a system where they're going to absolutely give first-year players, transfers, veterans, everyone in the room an equal opportunity, and not maybe put a preference on making the IMG guy play, the 5-star guy play. This is a defense that wants to put the best players in the best position possible. And, I think that can be a little bit frustrating. I think that for Kamari Wilson, he found himself 3rd string on the depth chart. I think a lot of people thought that he would be a starter this season, the way he played the end of last season, especially what Florida had returning at the safety position. But they signed these freshmen in Jordan Castell, Bryce Thornton, Miguel Mitchell has, I think, improved at a higher rate than Kamari Wilson over the last 9 months. And then you add RJ Moten in a room that already was looking to rotate consistently in the back end. You have a guy very frustrated with his role. And I think it hasn't really motivated him to improve and show the coaching staff that he's better than what they think. If anything, it's led to a little bit of a demoralizing situation where he may not see, I'm not speaking for him, but it may right now be tough for him to see a future at UF with the role that he's currently playing. And for those who are maybe not super privy to what Billy Napier likes to do, he likes to keep his routine the same every single week, which means that they're going to travel 80 guys to the hotel, even for a non-conference home game. There's no quote unquote travel roster that forced them to do that, but Florida doesn't want to have to go with a different routine week to week like this. So leaving that guy off of the quote unquote travel roster while he's in Gainesville and having him not participate with the team, that can send a message to a lot of guys that, hey, you need to do a few more things the right way, be knowledgeable, your film study, and play the position that we want you to play. You're going to have to do all these things to be able to make that list and have a chance to see the field. And that can be really tough for some other guys to accept. And so you have a situation with a young player who wants to play more. The coaching staff may not see him as the best option at the safety position. And you have this crossroads where he may see that, he loves football like everyone on that team does. And he just wants to play, and it may not be here. We'll have to see. But this could be a situation where some maturity occurs and there's both sides reconcile, and he does have a future here. I think it's too early to make a determination about Kamari Wilson's future. But right now, I think, are seeing a coaching staff putting what they believe to be the best players on the field. And you're seeing some of the repercussions of that in the locker room. But if you're a Florida fan, you want your coaching staff, especially coming from the previous era, you want them to put the best players on the field rather than the senior guys, the guys returning, your highest rated guys for recruiting purposes. This coaching staff doesn't need to play a 5-star guy from IMG just to be able to tell recruits that they're doing that. They want to tell recruits that they're giving all freshmen an equal chance to compete if they come in. And I think that this move kind of reinforces that notion, I guess.
Van Der says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, we finally get started to get players from IMG, and this happens. It will not smell well in the future. I'm going to disagree with that. It goes back to play your best players. I mean, Dion's going through this with Cormani McLean. He's not playing for them. Look, just because you came from IMG doesn't mean you're going to pan out to be a great player. And from what I saw last year when Kamari played, these guys are way better than him. And sometimes you just got to face the facts. So I will be surprised if he's here next year. That's just my gut feeling. I have no inside information. I don't know anything about it. I wouldn't even know if he walked in my house right now. But he doesn't play as well as the safeties they have right now. It's just that simple. Graham, we had another question here about Trey Wilson. Any news on that? When do we think he might suit back up? Georgia game?
Honestly, I did think it was a little bit optimistic to say that he could return by Kentucky. When that injury happened, I was told by someone in the room that 3 to 4 weeks was what they expected. I didn't believe that he practiced yesterday and Monday. I don't think he's going to practice today. I expect him to be out for the Kentucky game. If he's able to go, I think it's an indication of how much they think they need him against that top 20 Kentucky defense. A guy who clearly is a weapon, but I don't think he's able to go. I think that what you said, you got a bye week coming up in a couple of weeks. You're playing South Carolina and Vanderbilt in the weeks to come. 2 teams that you should beat. One team you beat by 32 last year, and another team that you beat, 31 of the last 32 times. I can't remember the last time Vanderbilt beat Florida, though. I think it was recent. And I hate to circle that game as a win, but right now this Florida team looks much improved. They should have no problem with Vanderbilt at home, unlike last season. So you head into, after this Kentucky game, potentially being 3-2, maybe 4-1, heading into Georgia. I think that is a wise move to not risk further injury to your, 5'10" dynamic wide receiver. That IMG point a little bit, going back to that one, just real quick, I'll give people a little bit more details. When Kamari Wilson came out on the sideline in the second quarter and rejoined the team, I don't know if anyone saw that tweet out there, and they escorted him back to the locker room. There were a couple of Florida players that I don't want to say confront, but they came up to him first and questioned why he was there. And one of the most vocal going up to Kamari was Will Norman, the defensive lineman, who went to IMG Academy as well. So if you think that there's an IMG Academy, aspect here to this that could be hindered, I think that you got a guy in Will Norman who's, growing in the defensive line room and has no problem setting, I hate to say setting the standard, but showing that maturity as a freshman that, if you're not going to partake in warmups, if you're not going to be part of the team, you can't be out here with us no matter where you went to high school, even if we went to the same place. So I think that aspect, to alleviate some fears for people, if there's going to be a recruiting hindrance there, I think there's going to be a lot of people who say, hey, they've put Will Norman in a leadership position already where he feels comfortable speaking out like that. That bodes well for the future. So to that point, absolutely. But back to Trey Wilson, speaking of another in-state Tampa area type guy, I was really impressed with Florida's wide receivers, obviously against Charlotte, but also against Tennessee. I do think that Ricky Pearsall, I still think he's underrated. Florida fans should know how good he is. And maybe there's a part here that doesn't want to believe that this is one of the best wide receivers, not just in the SEC, but in the entire country. But I think he can do it all. I think he's a dynamic threat, and they have to find ways to get the ball to him, just like they found ways to get the ball to Eugene Wilson on that opening drive against Tennessee, right? Ricky Pearsall needs to get double-digit touches a game, especially if Trey Wilson is out against the Wildcats. He is a weapon. You have to use him a bunch. He can't just be targeted 4 or 5 times. He can't just have one 30, 40-yard reception each game. As helpful as that is for Florida creating explosive plays, which they did certainly against Charlotte, they're going to need more of that moving forward. And Ricky Pearsall is your best guy. And I also think you're going to see more Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell. I thought Andy Jean looked really good against Charlotte. I'm looking for Aiden Mizell to show that speed that you've seen in practice, Shane, for the last 9 months. I'm looking for him to take the top off of defense sooner than later here. Looking back at Caleb Douglas, how he ascended last year, many remember that by this time last year, he was still kind of an afterthought. It was really that Eastern Washington game where he started to come along, started the last couple games in the season. Freshmen making an impact this early, whether it's Wilson, Jean, Mizell, that absolutely bodes well for those guys moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I love the receiver, the young guys, but I agree with you. I think Ricky Pearsall is one of the most complete receivers that I've ever seen at the University of Florida in all my years. I think he's that good. Dan wants to know, has Iguaquin practice? And Mazuka's coming back this week as well, right?
Yeah, Mike is going to be back. Absolutely. Damian George did play in the second half a bit there against Charlotte. Kingsley, I think the expectation is that he is going to play. He did go through practice yesterday. He's expected to practice later today. This is a situation though that is really day by day. He's still feeling some pain in there. It's going to be a lot like the Tennessee game where it's going to be pain management issues. I'm less confident that he plays against Kentucky than I am that he would play against Tennessee, obviously because of the magnitude of the game. But I also think the way Jake Slaughter has improved over the last month has gotten much better with just his command of the line, his knowledge. I think he's a really good blocker. He's graded out really well. Has he missed a few? Absolutely. But that's a guy who's improving on a game-to-game basis, and they don't want to lose Kingsley for the rest of the season. So, and make that thing potentially get any worse. I think there is a chance that he doesn't play against Kentucky, but it's a guy who's preparing, a veteran guy who's preparing as if it's still a possibility that he could be out there on Saturday. I think that is absolutely probability. Last thing I'll add to that, though, there's been so much, I think, made in recent years about the 15 penalties Florida had when they went up there to Lexington a couple years ago. I mean, that was 2021, coming out of COVID. A lot of that team hadn't played in a full stadium in front of, not to say that Kroger Field is, a couple jets blowing, but it can get loud in there. I'll give them some credit. And for a team that hadn't experienced that, I think that was a lot of what was going on. But if you really know, and the coaching staff did, there was an explainable issue with that offensive line a couple years ago that wasn't really reported, that they're confident isn't going to happen moving forward. So I would not expect the Gators to have a lot of procedural issues, penalties along the offensive line in Lexington this weekend. I think that's been cleaned up well in advance of this game. So whether it's Kingsley or Jake Slaughter, I think the Florida's offensive line is going to fare well in Kentucky.
I agree. YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. We got a bunch here. I'm gonna pick a few out. Chris wants to know, Graham, if Kentucky stacks the box, can Mertz win the game for Florida? I'll answer that. Absolutely, he can. I think he's a tremendous thrower of the football. I don't know what your thoughts are, Graham, but that's where I stand with Graham Mertz.
I know you and I feel pretty good right now because we didn't join the chorus of people piling on him before he'd played it down at UF. I mean, we said that this is going to be a guy brought in and they were going to cater the offense around what he does well. And maybe you're frustrated by the amount of screens. Maybe you're frustrated by how Florida's offensive line has looked, but the guy has absolutely done what has been asked of him. There have been one or two plays a game where he would like to have back. He's played turnover-free football in my mind because I don't attribute that interception to him in the Utah game. I think that he is absolutely not the problem of this team. And I think that he is arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC right now. I do think, and because you're talking about what he's doing within the offense, I'm not saying this is a guy who's going to come out here and throw for 400 yards every single game. Let's not move the goalposts, people, because people were talking for so long about him just being able to manage Florida's offense. And now he is clearly not the problem of this team whatsoever. So do I think he'll be effective against Kentucky? Yes. I think he'll play turnover-free football. I think you'll continue seeing those screens. They'll take 4 or 5 deep shots a game, look to establish some explosive plays. I think you could have a little more creative design with some runs. Let me see some more motion in the backfield. And also, if I'm Billy Napier, Rob Sale, I'm designing ways to take advantage of some of those limitations of the offensive line and what Graham Mertz has done really well. If you've noticed this season, he is very smart when he gets outside the pocket, whether it's throwing it away, knowing where the first down marker is, tucking and running, sliding, picking up extra yards. He's tough, I think a lot tougher than people think. You need to use that to your advantage. If they're going to stack the box and you got to get outside the box and make something happen, let me see some more play action. Let me see him take off on the run, use his legs a little bit. I mean, when he pump faked that Tennessee defender and then extended the ball, got the first down marker, I mean, you're going to need that against this Kentucky defense. Like I said, top 20 in the country coming in here. I don't think Graham Mertz is going to be the problem, even if they stack the box against the Gators, because Florida has seen that already throughout the season consistently.
Yeah, I'm going to respond to a bunch of people over here talking about he throws too many hitch routes. Look, people, he's got more arm strength than I had, than Danny Werfel had, than the majority of our quarterbacks. He is a legit, very effective, good quarterback. Just because he's not throwing the ball downfield, that ain't his fault. And yes, he has missed some people, but every quarterback misses people. Did y'all watch Pat Mahomes or any of those guys the other night? They miss people. So some of these people just blow my mind when it comes to, they'll see somebody running wide open and they think the quarterback may not even be part of his read. So he didn't miss it. That's just not part of it. All right. That's just me.
Let him know, man, please. I mean, it's complementary football. Billy Napier is conservative in his play calling to a good bit. So that's going to maybe limit what Mertz is going to do from an explosion standpoint, but they're also being conservative because they know that is when Graham Mertz is his most effective. It's complementary football in that regard. Both parties are being, I think, successful. I mean, has it been perfect? Billy Napier has been the first to say he can coach better, and Graham Mertz has said that there's a few plays he'd like to have back. I mean, that's all you can ask for, them admitting that they could be a little bit better while they've been, very effective. I don't think many people expected them to be 3-1 right now at this point in the season. So I don't understand why the complaints maybe haven't diminished a little bit. I'll say that.
Yeah, Brandon says it's not the QB, it's the vanilla play calling from Napier. But that's what Napier is. I mean, maybe Billy comes out of his shell. All right, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Man, we only got a few minutes left. This goes by fast. Austin Armstrong, we all know he's done a great job. But I think we're better at every position on defense than last year's team. And obviously the better talent is helping them play better. But what do you see from this defense, Graham, real quick, that they have to do against the Kentucky Wildcats?
I think that absolutely, pass rush is going to be key. We've seen that be a little bit shaky at times this season. I think, guys like Tyreek Sapp have to continue to have good games. I think Caleb Banks was extremely effective against Charlotte. You need to see a game like that out of him. I mean, that's a former Louisville guy who never got a chance to play against Kentucky. I mean, you'd think that he would be a little bit fired up for this one, right? I mean, he's been, brainwashed for the last couple of years to hate these guys. And now they've had Florida's number the last couple of years. So I think pass rush is certainly key. That dynamic young linebacker duo, Shamar James, I think he needs to have one of his better games. He's been a little bit waning lately from a grading out standpoint. Scooby Williams as well. I hope that he's fully healthy for this game. The secondary, though, has to continue playing at a high level. I know Florida's front seven has been extremely good this year. We need that to continue clearly, but the secondary has to continue playing at a high rate. I think you're going to see more Bryce Thornton. I think you're going to absolutely see more of these freshmen play in this game. I hate to be negative in any way, but I'd like to see a little bit more out of Jason Marshall Jr. That's a guy that many people project to be a top 50 pick potentially next year. I mean, should be your leader in the secondary. I mean, going against a quarterback in Devin Leary, he should get a takeaway. He should have a pass breakup. I mean, it's kind of surprising he hasn't had one yet this season. That's a guy that's better than how he's been playing. I think that's a huge key to the game. They're going to test him this game, and I think he needs to answer the call. That's going to absolutely be a factor. Devin Leary is, I think, a better quarterback than he is playing at right now in this Kentucky offense. The 5 interceptions surprise me. So Florida's going to have to get a takeaway like they did against Tennessee, take advantage of a quarterback who's a little bit off the mark, still adjusting to a new offense. And they got to handle the crowd noise from an offensive perspective, obviously. But as for the defense, that safety unit, I know you've seen it a lot. There were people, I know you were one of them in August, who was looking at Jordan Castell in the first week of camp and saying, this kid is absolutely going to play here, if not start here. There were a few people who just watched him play, and guys know when they see guys play, they know who's going to play. And that's a guy who I think is going to have one of his better games against Kentucky, because you look at freshmen all over the field and you think, oh, we can take advantage of them. And I kind of dare Liam Cohen and them to try and pick on Jordan Castell in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Mike asks, with the big plays against the corners, busted coverage or bad play. The couple, when they were wide open the other day, I don't think corners' responsibility. I think it was more underneath flat defenders that weren't carrying the guys in scramble. So it was a combination of a lot of things. But Graham, good stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter. Y'all got any specials going on right now?
You can join right now for a month for $1. If you want to check it out, get nonstop coverage of the Gators, more than 200 articles per month. We got a podcast right now. It's got a video. It's not as good as Shane's. Obviously, I'm not sitting in a barrel of whiskey house. We're just, right here. So check it out. Lots of content And if you are looking to join, we'll have definitely a 50% off, 60% off for a year deal coming pretty soon here after that 1 month. So got to do this again pretty soon. It's always a blast. Like you said, the time flies because we can just, talk for a good bit, man, about whatever. So we got to make it happen again soon. Hope you've been doing well, and I'll see you up in Lexington.
All right, Graham, appreciate it. One of the best
I'll
in the
take
business,
care.
Graham Hall for 24/7 Sports. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Rose Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Tomorrow we'll have Brent Beer. We'll go around the SEC. We'll also have John Clay, who covers the Kentucky Wildcats, join our program. We will see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.